Today's teenagers do not know a world before smartphones and social media, and they are extremely skilled at navigating smartphones, tablets, and the internet. You've probably seen it on your own feeds, the risks, the challenges this exposure brings for children and parents alike that our parents did not have to deal with. So how do we navigate it?
Welcome to Healthy Living, Wellness and Prevention, Medical Innovation, the informed side of care. Welcome to Baptist Health Talk.
Welcome to a new episode of Baptist Health Talk, where we answer your most searched questions on the internet. Today's topic, teenagers and social media. I'm Neki Mohan, your host for today. To talk about the effects of social media on teenagers, we are joined by Manuela Rodriguez, licensed marriage and family therapist and behavioral health specialist at Baptist Health, and Dr. Marisa Azaret, licensed clinical psychologist and a member of the Digital Safety Alliance at Nicholas Children's Hospital. Thank you for both being here.
Thank you.
I mean, we're going to dive right in. You know, both of you have a lot to add on this topic. We're going to start with you, Marisa. A lot of parents wonder about the effect of social media and smartphones on their children and teens, especially their brains at such a young age. What are we hearing from the research?
Well, that's a very important question. And I want to begin by reminding parents that the American Academy of Pediatrics have said for many years, preschoolers, particularly children under 2, no social media, no smartphones. Now, when we're talking about research, and there's a great deal of research going on worldwide, but it's very difficult to prove causation. It's very different from correlation. You can correlate something, but you cannot say this caused this. So some research are pointing to the ability to pay attention, to process information, to multitasking, to the impact on the amygdala, which is the part of the brain that is responsible for emotions. But most research say, number one, it's very difficult to prove causation. Number two, we need more research. However, and I want to open the parenthesis, we need to do something about it. Even though we don't have the amount of research that we will. There is a large study, the largest in the United States, following 12,000 children for age 9, 10 until they are young adults. And we're going to be getting lots of information, but at the present time, not conclusive.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's like we know something's going on.
Yeah.
You know, and the hypothesis is out there, but they just need the backup. Manuela, now there are some ways that parents can ask their kids to open up about their mental health. I have a teenager, it's very difficult. Please help me. What questions should we be asking our kids about social media? How do we keep the communication lines open?
I think that's, it's really important to talk about that because it starts from the beginning. It starts having conversations and understanding their world of social media, entering it from a point of curiosity, of being able to understand, and then being able to place some of those boundaries together, if possible, or if not, setting those boundaries because it's gone too far. It's time to set those boundaries, right? So opening up conversation of curiosity, inviting them to share what are the apps that they're using. Because if we're coming from a standpoint of do not use this, do not do that, we're inviting them to kind of explore more of those apps.
I think the obvious follow-up to that's how do you know when it's gone too far? How do you know when your children are being affected by what they're watching on their phones?
Do you want me to answer that?
Yes, I do.
I'm going to take
Yes, take it.
I think one of the major issues also beginning a conversation is saying, this is what I'm going through with my phone. And we are all depending on this. So
yeah, give me your phone. I think I hear it buzzing.
The buzzes.
Yes. Thank you. I'm taking away your phone.
Setting those boundaries.
But I was using my phone as an example. Basically, so talking to the children in terms of, I'm going through this. All of us are going through that. This process took all of us by surprise. But in terms of how to know if the child has crossed the line and needs help, and I'm going to give you one statistics, 72%, and this is according to the Pew Research Center, okay? 72% of teenagers, they know the price they are paying for having a smartphone and social media. They know that they are not sleeping well. They know they should be playing outside with friends. They know they should be engaged in the community with families and friends, but they don't know. They don't have the ability to say, number one, to express their feelings, and number two, to solve such issue. What happens? They don't tell mom and dad. Why don't they tell mom and dad? Because what is the first reaction? Give me the phone. What you just did with me. Give me the phone. But they need mom and dad to understand also the anxiety of not being connected, the anxiety of maybe not getting the likes, the anxiety of not being present for your friends 24/7 because they feel that they need to be 24/7. Yeah. So I guess my invitation to the parents is, number one, you know your kid better than anyone else. If there are changes in his behavior, if there are changes in his routine, if you feel that he's withdrawing, academically doing poorly, sleeping poorly, just pay attention to that and open the conversation. Yeah. What we're doing here is inviting parents to open the conversation. Like you were saying, in the dinner table, which is the best place to do
No
that.
phones at the dinner table.
Oh, that's, you were talking about that.
Yeah.
Those are one of the limits that the parents can, you know.
Is there a good amount of time that a teenager should be on social media every day? How much is too much? Do you recommend parents setting up limits based on age?
I think if it's age appropriate, right? If what they're watching is age appropriate, and when we see that it's the transition time to turn off the phone, that they are able to regulate themselves, put the phone down, put it away, and transition to the next step. But if we're having a meltdown, a breakdown, and we want to avoid that, and parents are giving the device or the iPad back, we're then now reinforcing that behavior, and the child will now know, I know what I got to do to get the device back. So when the child is unable to disconnect from the device in a healthy manner, it's gone too far. We have to take care of that in that moment, or we're going to create an unhealthy relationship with the devices. And we need them. We need the devices.
Yeah. And you mentioned something that is extremely important. Not two kids are the same.
Right.
Okay, so a child, let's assume that two teenagers or preteens are 3 hours on social media. They might be looking at very different things. Sports, connecting with friends, learning about the something content. New. So it's a challenge for the parents, because many parents, they don't know, and I empathize with parents. They don't know what they are doing on social media. But for some kids, it's, I guess the right question to ask when we're doing research about this topic is why some kids flourish using social media and the phone, and why some kids go down the drain in that dark tunnel that makes them feel unhappy, insecure, etc., etc. So it's what the research says, they are using 3 hours. Okay, but again, it depends on the child. It depends on what he's doing. It depends on the support at home. So many factors.
Depends on how many chores you're giving them.
Yeah. Keep them busy. Keep them outside.
Listen, the schools are using not social media, but the smartphones and the QR codes.
Well, I think during COVID, a lot of, you couldn't keep them off a device. If I ban you from the phone, you still have your computer.
Yeah.
You know? You still have
the iPad.
Yeah, I saw her communicating with her friends. So what is this person saying on Snapchat? So it's just crazy. So, Manuela, social media exposes our kids to way more than we had at our fingertips growing up. How do identity, self-esteem, body image play into a child's mental health? They have access to all these things.
Yeah, and I think that, talking about their identity, their self-esteem, these are conversations that we constantly have to be checking in with them. The social media adds a component that oftentimes it goes back to that sense of belonging, right? They find that they belong or they connect with a certain group or a certain influencer, and they are connected immediately by feeling, I belong. This person is showing me that I can be who I am. So if we don't find something within our community, within our family, to offer them that same sense of belonging, we are doing a disservice, because they will be and fully be connected with the social media, and nothing else will be good enough. It's like it can become an addiction, right? We have to find something for the person that's using the cigarette, right? Another form of relieving that feeling of this feels good. So if we're not finding something else for them in our community, in our families, reaching out for them for support, saying, yes, that does give you a sense of belonging, but tell me a little bit more. Who else can we talk to about this?
And I agree with you in terms of when you take something away, you have to put something.
Yes.
Okay. So, but what is the problem? And I want for parents to understand that we hear them. Parents are overwhelmed. Many households, you have both parents working. They get home and they are tired. And they don't have time or the money to take the kids to sports, many parents feel that the communities where they live are not sure, are insecure communities. So they are afraid. So if you have a child that is alone at home waiting for mom and dad, that lives in a neighborhood that he doesn't have the ability to go out and play, which would be ideal, play with other children, then the options are not there. And parents get extremely overwhelmed. And it's painful to see parents because they have that, okay, I need to give him something, but what do I give him?
Yeah.
Because I don't have the means.
I hope the
can't.
parents that are watching it, they are able to help with community groups to give scholarships to kids who can't afford to join the local baseball team.
Or know their communities.
Yeah.
Know their What do I have in my
Available
community?
to them.
What
Club.
is available to me? I mentioned to you, and I don't want to before the show. I mentioned statistics. I'm going to use another number, just another number, because we're talking about parents. According also to the Pew Research Center, 68% of the parents answer that they many times don't pay the attention to the kids that they deserved because they are with the phone or in social media themselves.
Or working off their phone.
Exactly. So it's important for me to send that message to the parents that, yes, we hear them. Yes, there is a lot of pressure to perform and to work, et cetera, but the children are watching. Yes. It's not what I say, it's what I do. So, and many parents are beginning to recognize, and I think this is an incredible opportunity for parents to say, let's have a contract, and I'm going to be part of that contract.
Yes.
Involving them
when we're
in the decision.
When we're having dinner, no phones allowed. When, things like that, the kids feel that, wow, mom and dad are engaging with me.
Yep.
They hear me.
Now, does the research break down the numbers, the impact of social media on boys versus girls?
There is research. We know that women, have the tendency since early on to be more depressed and anxious. Culturally, we are encouraged to look at the way we look, how much we weigh. We compare with each other. So what we're seeing with girls, and boys are more into video games and are more into maybe sports and things like that. But what we're seeing is that middle school girls and teenagers, they are really feeling the pressure, comparing themselves. Then we see the consequences in eating disorders, in low self-esteem. So that is why it is so important, like you mentioned, Manuela, to begin this entire process early on. Not when they become teenagers, not when they become middle school students, early on.
Yeah, comparison is the enemy of happiness. So it's really important. Manuela, parents have a little more control during high school. And once their kids are off to college, it's harder to control social media use. What kind of conversations will help with that transition? And I have a teenager in her senior year. Yeah. So
I always mention that they're growing into becoming a young adult. And this is not only going to impact their mental health, but job applications, internships. A lot of supervisors, managers, they're going to be looking at your Instagram, your social media, recruiters. So what your footprint is on social media is going to say a lot about you. to your peers, to your
that worries a lot of teenagers because they are aware of that. Again, they are aware of many things that may happen, but they don't have the tools. They do
I
not
tell
have
parents
the
this
tools.
over and over again as a former news reporter. Something happened. Where we go for a picture, social media.
Yep.
Would you want to see this on the news?
Yeah.
It's a public platform. It's your own television show.
We used, and it's been posted on our Baptist Health Instagram as well, is think before you post, right? And it breaks down the acronym of think. Is it, do we need to, is it kind? Is it something that I'm posting? Is it necessary? Before you post something or say something or like something, this is going to have your fingerprint on it, right? Your social media, your digital world is saying,
Yes.
I agree with this. And somebody can misunderstand. Somebody can misinterpret what you're posting, what you're sharing. Although you have genuine intention, it's out in the community now.
Yeah.
It can be shared and reposted and screenshot by anybody that wants to maybe see you in a negative light.
Yeah.
Or
I like that acronym. Dr. Azaret, what can we do as parents to help build a safer digital world for children?
I always say that you heard before that it takes a village to raise a child. We're trying to wake up the village. And one of the initiatives is the initiative that Nicholas Children's Hospital, the hospital where I work, has, which is digital safety. And it's the mission is to educate, to engage the community. It's geared to pediatricians, to parents, to hospitals, to let's wake up the village, because parents alone, let's be honest, parents alone cannot do it. We psychologists alone cannot do it. We need the village. We need the support of teachers. We need the support of that village in order to, and where to begin? By learning.
Yeah.
Because there is by education.
Yep.
And then prevention is part of that. And you begin early on. You begin talking about the footprint of social media. You begin to talk about the self-esteem. You begin to use maybe influencers to your advantage.
Yeah.
You see Simone Biles, she stopped using social media now in the Olympics because she said, I cannot handle it. It's too much pressure.
Like that conversation she brought up 4 years ago about mental health, it resonated.
Exactly. And now she's saying, I'm not looking at social media. So let's use those
Well, recently
figures.
we saw Governor Ron DeSantis sign legislation known as HB3, prohibiting children younger from 12 from joining social media. What is the impact of this for families, and who's enforcing this?
The 1 million question. The 1 million.
how do we answer this, right? And I think it's part of that village. And a lot of parents do depend on caregivers in the house.
Yeah.
So I invite our audience to hear that we're not just talking to the parents, right? We are talking to the community, to the teachers, to the grandparents that help these teenagers. It's also educating them and understanding this teenager's world and educating grandparents, but that can be a difficult situation of its
to our
own.
kids. They're smart. They can they can charm.
They'll jump
grandma,
right
grandpa.
over. Yeah.
Very easily. Well, something that I tell the parents, and it goes along with what you were mentioning, is that please understand that teenagers nowadays, they are going through the same thing we went through as teenagers. The value of friendship, self-identity, love, sex. The same. It's the same tasks of teenagers. However, they are doing that in front of millions or thousands of people. And but I want parents, the audience is, but I want parents to understand that they are going through the same tasks that we went through. And it's our role as parents, as adults around them, is to help them become digital citizens that are responsible. So, but it has to be, again, I defend parents all the time because I know that they are many of them are burned out. Many of them don't understand, not understand social media. Okay?
Yeah, the U.S. Surgeon General even put out a new social media advisory calling for a warning label on social media platforms.
Let me tell you what I like. Let me tell you what I like about that. that and, what's happening in Florida is bringing the conversation
Yes.
to the dinner table. All of us are talking about it. Teachers and pediatricians and parents. So the more we talk about it, I don't know what the perfect solution. I don't think there is one perfect solution. I think there are many things that we need to address, but it brings the conversation to us.
Yes.
Now everyone is talking about it. So let's continue the conversation.
And let's talk about it in real life.
Oh, yeah.
Not on our
phone.
devices.
As parents, we tend to know our children best. And like we know the differences with our children. We'll notice if something is up with them. Give us the definite signs as someone whose child is not in the best mental health and needs support and is being affected. And we went over this earlier, but just go over it once again.
He's changing. He's changing his patterns, the lack of sleep. And you know that if you don't sleep, that, impacts every aspect of your life. Isolation from friends, or being very quiet, very shy, poor academic performance, not wanting to do what he used to do, going to his room and not wanting to talk to anyone. So signs that the parents, and what I tell the parents is, if you see those signs, please confront him with love. We as parents, we need to develop listening skill, but listening to understand, not listening. What do we do
respond.
Listen.
Mm-hmm.
What do we do as parents? Don't do that.
Well, I think
Don't feel like that.
I realized I had to speak differently than my parents did because they only came when you were in trouble.
Yeah.
But now they're getting so much information from outside sources. We have to be the
And what I'm
man.
noticing as a clinical psychologist dealing with teenagers, that's the population that I deal with, and I love. My colleagues, no, too many things going on with teenagers, is that they want to be heard.
Yes.
They want to be heard. They really want to grow but they need to be listened with respect and engaged.
Validated.
You mentioned that before.
And a sense of belonging.
Engaged in what are we going to do with our family? I miss you. You're in your room all the time.
Yes.
What can we do?
Validate them.
Exactly.
Welcome them.
So that is, and it takes practice.
Yeah.
And I tell the parents, you don't need to be perfect at it. You don't need to know anything. That's another myth or problem that we hear from parents. I don't understand social media. Every time I understand one, let's say Instagram, my son jumps into another one, and I'm back to number one. So you don't need to. Let's learn about it together with your child, and let's wake up the community. Let's wake up the village.
Yeah, Marisa, Manuela, you've given us a lot to think about, a lot to start the conversation so many parents need to have. Thank you so much. This has been a great conversation. Thank you, our audience. Thanks you for sharing this with them. Remember, viewers, be sure to hit that subscribe button on our channel right here to keep up with the latest health and wellness information and tips from our experts. We thank you so much for watching.
Find additional valuable health and wellness information on our resource blog at baptisthealth.net/news. And be sure to interact with us on our social media channels for live and upcoming events. Baptist Health Talk is brought to you by Baptist Health, the warmer side of care.